Hello, good morning, everybody,
Wait,
and
wait, wait. We're
welcome.
we're not live yet. Sorry.
It's written live, so I thought it was. Thank you for letting me know.
Now we're live.
Okay, good morning, and welcome to the session Advanced Automation through AI. I'm Cecilia. I'm Deputy Head of the Unit Robotics and Artificial Intelligence at the European Commission. And today, I'm very happy and grateful to the experts who join us to help us addressing questions related to advanced automation through AI. So we know that AI can greatly help automation, and altogether they can really contribute to the competitiveness of our production industry, but also for our service industry. And they can definitely also help in making our public services more efficient. So we should all be able to benefit from that, the companies, the society. And last but not least, very importantly, bringing AI and automation are expected to also greatly contribute to improve the working conditions, to help really the worker to be in better condition, to avoid to have to do so many mechanical work, to basically work like machines, or have to do some dirty or even dangerous job. So those jobs should be delegated as much as possible to machine. So we are going to investigate how we can help Europe to take advantage of all the potential such technology can provide to us, to our companies, to our society, and to our citizens individually as well. So today we are going to discuss together with experts who have experience in implementing such technologies in different industries, so they know which are the bottlenecks to deploy. And we'd like to learn from them really what the commission could do with its policy to help Europe really benefiting from the potential the technology can offer. And you, all the assembly, the member, the audience, the member of the European AI Alliance, I would invite you to investigate with us these issues. So I would invite you to go to Slido and select AI Alliance to join the debate. And this is an opportunity for you to ask the question to our expert panelists. And after the introduction, then we will take a question and we will ask the expert to help us guiding us through those questions and answer those questions all together. So please go to Slido and be careful, select the right session. So when you connect to the Slido session, you have to select the session Advanced Automation through AI. And there, please do put your question and we will then address them after the tour de table, where we will introduce the experts, and they will also first answer the question we ask them to address as the initial run table, which is okay, you have experienced deployment of AI-based automation, and from your perspective, how can EU with its policy help really the addressing some bottlenecks to deployment? Should it be in further investing in R&I? Should it be in putting measure to help deployment, to help innovation? Should it be in skills? Should it be in helping to develop mechanisms to have to support job processes? So should it be in trying to attract more talent? So which are the policy we could develop to help together to progress in these technologies? So if you could go to the next slide. Then thank you. So today we have the great pleasure to have around the table quite a various set of experts and top level experts to help us understanding really how together we can do something to boost Europe in this respect. So first we have Margareta from UiPath. UiPath stands for User Interface Path, and her company is a great success story from Europe, born in Romania and now worldwide leader in robot production automation, RPA. And basically, in few words, it's their system they offer is basically to automatize any repetitive task we're doing with our computer from in companies, in administration, and so on, to avoid basically us being robots doing the task. So having receiving help from those RPAs to support people in their tasks so they can focus on what is more human, more higher level, let's say, kind of task. And this can be applied in many different sectors. She will explain us in healthcare, where then the nurse can focus on taking care of people rather than having to fill forms, for instance. Then the second speaker today is Professor Marco Huber, and he is professor for cognitive production system at University of Stuttgart. He is also a director in one department of Fraunhofer IPA in Germany. And this IPA Fraunhofer is also part of an initiative also called Arena 2036. And basically, they invent the future of mobility and of automotive, and including as well the future of production. So I'm looking forward to hear from him what he sees also as the future of production, or AI, or robotics, or computer vision can help in these respects. Our third speaker today is Guillaume Vendroux. So he is the head of Delmia, and this is a brand of the Dassault System company, a huge company in France, and they build software system to accompany and support all manufacturing companies in their process of producing products, and accompanying them through the whole process from design to designing the process, optimizing the production, developing and executing the plans, and optimize all the processes in the manufacturing sector. So they really are at the core of helping manufacturing industry in optimizing their processes and their productions from A to Z with their software system. And last but not least, Kai Frutzenberg is a senior VP in R&D at SICK AG. And this is a world leader in sensor technology for many years, but they also provide a solution for automation-based sensor systems that can be used in many different types of application. For instance, in sorting thousands of parcels in no time, thanks to their advanced sensor system and machine learning tasks. So each of you will have 4 minutes to answer to our question. And in the meanwhile, I remind the audience and invite you to put your question in the Slido. So afterwards, we will discuss with, again, the expert and ask their opinion and their answers to the question you have. So first, Margareta, the floor is yours. Can you tell us what you see as the hurdle to deploy this technology, and from your point of view, what could we do at European level with our policy to help Europe in that respect?
Thank you very much, Cecile. And thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here with all the speakers and the great audience. So a few words about myself and the company. Just to start, my name is Margareta Quesaro. I work at UiPath as the Public Affairs and Policy Manager. The company started from Romania, Bucharest, and is now a global company. What we do is software, and we also provide the end-to-end platform for hyperautomation. So our core product is robotic process automation, and then all the technologies needed for hyperautomation. And I will explain in a few words what that is. So I probably come from maybe a different perspective. We talk about robots usually in the physical world. We talk about manufacturing robots, we talk about traditional robotics. what we do as UiPath is focus on software robots, or what we call them digital assistants, exactly like you said, Cecile. So we make robots so that people don't have to be robots. And software automation can be deployed anywhere you have a computer and you have also these mundane repetitive tasks that you do on your computer, irrespective of the industry. So it's an industry agnostic technology. We can talk about use cases in banking and finance. We can talk about use cases in the public sector, or in insurance, and think about every industry. The main condition is to have high volume repetitive tasks in order to, with rules so that you can predict workflows. And just to give you an example, think about all the copy pasting that we have to do from on Excel spreadsheet to another, about those high volume citizens requests that public sector agencies receive. Especially during COVID, we have seen how many requests have been put for citizen support, for unemployment benefits, or for other requests. So those are the preconditions for software automation. Now, thinking about the bottlenecks, about how Europe stands from our perspective, I will focus on a couple of things. So the first will be the uptake of artificial intelligence. And indeed, there has been an increase in that, as we see from studies. But at the same time, the US is still further prepared for the uptake of artificial intelligence. So what we can do here in the European Union is focus on a more stronger digital single market, on a harmonized approach between member states so that it is easier to scale as a company, but also to deploy products and to reference use cases from one country to another as a set of best practice. It also connects with the funding opportunities that exist also at the private level, but also at the public sector level. Now, the Recovery and Resilience Facility offers us a great opportunity to reform and to increase the capacity in this respect. And this is a very welcomed initiative from both private and public perspectives. At the same time, the skills divide, the digital skills divide, is still also very important. And I know previous speakers in today's sessions have talked about it. So whether we talk about basic digital skills that everyone should have in order to, as a citizen, maybe use the computer to file a request or to issue something that they need for their personal life events, such as identity card or things like that, a passport. That's very important, and still, some countries are lagging more behind than others. So harmonized approach to tackle this is very important. So initiatives like the Digital Education Action Plan and the New Pact for Skills and other initiatives at the European level are very important. At the same time, also advanced digital skills are important. This is why it's important to cooperate between public sector organizations and private sector organizations to make exchange of know-how, of expertise, to co-develop training and training opportunities, such as Finland's experiment for AI. But there are also other examples in Europe that are either developed by companies, by NGOs, and that can be scaled at European level to increase digital literacy, but also advanced digital skills. And third, but not least, in order to deploy artificial intelligence, so in order to have that AI readiness, you also need, either as a company or as a public sector institution, to work on your processes, on digitizing, so eliminating the paperwork when you can, improving the communications between business units, interoperability. You need also, obviously, e-government. So preparing for, in a consolidated manner, for artificial intelligence as European countries is equally important with AI uptake in general, because it's a prerequisite that's very important. And of course, artificial intelligence can help with many other things and move digital transformation at another level. And RPA and robotic process automation is here to do exactly just that, to increase efficiency, productivity, and increase the citizen satisfaction. Now, just a few words about hyperautomation. It's a new trend that is available to further explanations by analysts. And the essence is that by combining robotic process automation with other new emerging technologies, you can have increased automation at the workplace or in public services to have better results. So coupling with artificial intelligence, with analytics, with other types of emerging technologies to work together as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Margareta. Very nice and very good overview of your experience and various type of input, very useful. Before passing to the next speaker, I would also encourage the audience to vote for the questions suggested by others, so that we can also see a bit which one you think are the most relevant one. Thank you again, Margareta. And then now the floor is to Marco. And could you please give us your perspective on your experience in seeing the deployment, the bottlenecks, and what EU could do about that? Thanks.
All right. So thank you, Cecile. It's great to have the opportunity to speak in front of this audience. Just a few words to my background. I'm with the university in Stuttgart, so I'm a professor, but at the same time I'm also with Fraunhofer. So we are somehow responsible for doing fundamental research in AI, but also have to take care about technology transfer. I will refer to this transfer aspect later a bit. And at the arena, which I'm also a representative of, the Arena 2036 is a large research facility where we think about how the production of the future, particularly for cars, should look like. And of course, there's a significant effort spent how automation can support manufacturing. Well, automation in manufacturing is a relatively old topic, since it is just necessary to have a competitive production in Europe. You need to rely on a significant share of automation, but still it's somehow very tricky to apply automation. For instance, there is often a very significant effort for ramping up a new automation system, a new manufacturing system, or when it's still running, you need to ensure that it is keeping up on a high quality. And I think here AI can be a significant help to reduce the ramp up time and the effort for ramping up such a manufacturing process. And at the same time, when it's up and running, to maintain or even increase the manufacturing quality. This is something we call here automating the automation. Maybe it's very similar to the hyper automation Margareta just mentioned. It's about thinking still when you're using, let's say, an industrial robot for the automation, it needs some time to program the robot and to ramp it up, which may take experienced workers, which may take a significant effort. And AI could be of help to significantly reduce the ramp up time. For instance, learning and parameterizing the robot in a simulation environment in combination with AI technologies like reinforcement learning. So while the robot is doing one task, you can already train it in the simulation to do another task. And once in a while it is necessary to switch to another product, you can just use the robot program that has been learned in simulation. So this is the thing where we think that AI could help, and what we call automating the automation. Of course, AI is also very helpful besides the classical manufacturing automation. Margareta just mentioned it. It's also, and maybe even more, helpful in administrative service or business processes. Something we are not concerned with, but just from what I have seen so far and what also Margareta explained, I think there is even a more ways to optimize these kind of processes with the help of AI as compared to the manufacturing industry. As in manufacturing, deploying automation in combination with AI is already on a very high level compared to other processes. What I see is, and then just come a bit towards what AI policy could do, is that we have a very strong fundamental research over Europe. Just look at the great research which is done in France, in Great Britain, for instance, in Germany, in Italy, and so on and so forth. What I often see is then a lack of transferring this great research in results into the field, so that particularly small and medium-sized companies can benefit from this research. Larger enterprises often do not have these issues. If you look at the very big companies like SAP, Dassault, or others, they already have their own AI or machine learning units, and that can support the companies in deploying AI technologies, but there's still a significant lack when it comes to SMEs. And I think here, more effort could be spent on a European level to, for instance, ramp up tech transfer clusters, which are located very closely to hubs where strong fundamental research is done. Another topic I would like to touch is about, let's say, the core technologies in AI and the way the European Union is thinking about it. It's about this human-centered approach, which I highly support. I think we all know that most of advanced AI technologies are relying on deep neural networks, which have the issues that they are a black box. So they are opaque to humans, which limits trust in them. But maybe even more critical is that it can get in conflict with various regulation, for instance, when it comes to safety. So we have to think about how these advanced technologies like deep neural networks can be combined with other approaches to enhance the transparency of these methods. Other issues, maybe also very related with safety, is that most of these methods are typically only verified on a statistical level. So we have just a discrete set of points, of data points, and then we do some fancy measures about them and think it's good enough. But I think in many strongly regulated areas, like in medical domain, this is not sufficient. We have to think about how such kind of methods can be verified more formally. And maybe last but not least, what I also see as an issue, and this is maybe then when it comes to data, is I see that many companies are very reserved in sharing data, which is just necessary to build up advanced AI systems. And we have to think about how a data economy and a data ecosystem could be built up over Europe. And I think here the EU could help. I think Gaia X is a good initiative. I'm just not certain if this is already good enough and sufficient. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Marco, for your insight and comment and suggestion, also complementing the one from Margaret and reinforcing some of the points. Very good. So now the third speaker, Guillaume, will tell us a bit his experience at the Delma Dassault system. The floor is yours.
So just to start, before going into the specifics of AI and automation, just a little bit of background. You presented us, Dassault System, as a software company, which we are indeed, but our role is not to provide software. Our role is to help transformation of companies to reach the next level of efficiency or sustainability of performance at large. And so it means that a lot of us, and the points I will discuss today are not a point of a software vendor, but a point of an industrial, because that's what my clients are, and that's where I see some of the problems with the introduction of AI. So that being said, being an industrial, people are the key asset of the company, and this is for them that we work, and we need to provide them with a good working environment. And I will go back to some of Marco's remark about safety. When you talk about AI in automation, somehow, it's kind of scary. We want people to be safe on shop floors. At the same time, we are developing more and more interactions between automation and human, and cobotic is certainly one of the topics. We see that as very practical because it's highly efficient. Menial tasks given to the robot, more advanced tasks given to the human. It avoids problems of difficult physical tasks to do, etc., etc. But obviously, we need to be able to have a very smart interaction. So today, the problem is solved by limiting the nature of the interactions. When you talk about AI, it means that somehow, somewhere, the automation will decide for itself how it behaves. And obviously, at this point in time, the question of safety is paramount. It so happened that I spent some time in the railway industry, and obviously safety and safety in particular in automation is critical. And I found that they have developed through the years, and thanks to the UE, a framework which is extremely precise, which define exactly what can be done, what cannot be done, what is the framework it can be in which it can be done, and how can we prove, demonstrate, or make sure that the probability of occurrence of a critical failure is limited, or a critical decision is limited. And I really think that is a topic that that we need to investigate. We already see in some countries different regulation about cobotics. In some countries, it's possible to have direct interaction. In some countries, it's restricted. And if we want to see AI more and more in the shop floors, I think this problem needs to be tackled. The frameworks needs to be given, and that obviously cannot be done at the country level. It has to be much wider, at least European. And so, Cécile, I think you should be able to help us a lot there. The second topic, which for me is very important, relates to the core of AI, what it is. Okay, and when you look at somebody doing AI, practically, he spends a lot of his time playing around with data in Excel, most of the case, because he has to format the data, trim the data. Marco referred a little bit to that. The format is not standard. The understanding between the numbers are not standard. The typology of application are not standard. And therefore, for a 90% worth of effort on data, we can get a few efforts on the actually AI application. I think that if this way of working is clearly not scalable, it's not industrial, it's not quality, it's not, there is no capitalization, no knowledge gained from that, and we have to redo every time, the same thing over and over again, in whichever instance we want to put AI in. So I think we need to change that, and to do that, and this is for us at the Dassault something which we believe extremely strongly is we need a model. We need to have a framework in which we can work. And maybe the framework cannot be extended to the full world, but maybe by typology, and there has been some attempt in the past, for example, for manufacturing, to create an ontology, to be able to create a model in which we could standardize somehow the nature of the data we're going to capture. We're going to standardize the way we're going to project those data in the model to make it understandable and acceptable to everyone. And I think this is a very important topic. There have been some attempts a long time ago in a lot of domains. In some respects, ISA 95 which has been adopted by UE a few years back, has been one of the topics. But I think this is widely obsolete, and that EU would have an extremely added value in working in those topics, because this is the way we're going to scale. This is the way we're going to democratize AI for the rest of for all the companies, and not only the big ones. And this is the way we're going to make it affordable, because it's going to be widely deployable. So that's a second. And obviously, to Marco's point as well, this would allow for capitalization, which obviously is not the case today. So that's the second thing. And the third topic, I don't know whether EU can indeed help, but indeed it relates to the trusts. What is the positioning of AI versus a worker on a shop floor? What do we want to do with AI? What don't we want to do with AI? How do we build the trusts between the worker, the human interacting with the AI, and the AI? I mean, those are change management topics. but not only, probably also a little bit of technology topics, and on a very pragmatic basis, when we have difficulty getting AI in certain area, the problem may be technical, but we are a big company, we have a lot of engineers, technical problem gets solved. What is sometimes way more difficult to obtain acceptance on is the change, is the ability of the team, the collaboration of the team to work with those new technologies, those new devices, those new philosophy or new approach. And I think those are problems that absolutely need to be addressed. But yet again, Cecile, I'm not quite sure that EU can help, but probably by increasing the awareness about what is AI, what is not AI, because AI is not a magic one in which you can do anything. That would certainly help, bring the awareness up and increase the acceptance of those technology in our shop floors.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Again, additional guidance for us and work for us to do. Great. Thank you so much. And so now, Kai, you are going to also explain us your perspective on that. I think you have a few slides to show, so I let my colleague display them as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Cecile, for having me here. And I'm with the SIG AG, and we develop and produce intelligent sensor solutions for industrial automation. And I brought you in the next slides 3 examples about it. And the first one is in logistics. And if you look at the left photograph, this is how logistics looks like in many places and at the moment. And even boosted by the Corona crisis, where all of us order lots of parcels to our home, not to leave it in the current times. And well, there are modern solutions for this, and there are modern hubs where we sort up to 50,000 parcels an hour. And in this, which you can see in the right picture here, and those modern hubs are, of course, pretty much automated as well. And there we identify a number of AI-related tasks. You can name them like code identification, object classification, image processing, hazard label detection, and so on. These are very much growing business tasks for the future. And the wonderful thing is that AI really improves the reading rate, for example, in code identification, and makes automation far better and far more suitable. In the next slide, we see the second example. This is from production. And factory automation will significantly improve by the use of AI. And for example, we use AI already in quality control, where we want to find out if components are missing, if components are shifted or twisted, and or even placed with wrong polarity, for example. And those applications are very important for our future and already for our current business, because they make it far more reliable and sustainable how we do our environment. And the next slide shows my last example. And there I just give to draw side, you see how robots work on, for example, automotive parts or any other parts. And they're pretty much fenced that no human is under danger by those very strong and heavy robots. And on the right side, you see the vision of a very flexible, highly flexible production where humans and robots are working quite close together, hand in hand, and solving the task in a very flexible and dynamic way. In this environment, safe automation is very, very important. We have to make sure that nobody is threatened or hurt. And there are a number of, and even a very lot of unsolved issues with regard to safety. We need to have advances in legislation, in methodology, and as well, of course, technology need to be improved as well. And in the last slide, I give you some keywords, what I like to see in future research as well, even if you think, hey, this is already done, but To be honest, there need to be lots of work to be done there as well. And first of all, distributed AI for production logistic processes is pretty important. That AI is applied to all the embedded sensors there, for example, and embedded processing. And this is how we can really benefit from AI in a maximum way in production and logistics. This lifelong learning for industrial applications is very, very important. And I will not talk about a lot of this. And we had this in the panel before as well. The benefits of AI are quite obvious, but really to bring in quite obvious in the scientific world, yeah, and to transfer this into industrial world, into industrial applications. I really like that researchers demonstrate the benefits of AI in industrial applications, which is very, very important from my point of view. Not just giving the idea how we could use it, really demonstrate, choose a certain use case and make it running. And if we go more to safety-related topics, runtime verification is very, very important to minimize risk of industrial AI applications. And in particular, the AI and safety-related industrial systems need to get lots of more focus in the future. There's one example that certification of AI-based industrial systems is very complex at the moment, very risky, and not easy to be done. Well, and I could give you far more examples than this, but those are my favorites, which I like to be addressed in the future. And I'm really happy that we can discuss about this today, Cecile.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kai. Again, yeah, additional topics here, and some also also repeating things that that are important. So we see some convergence as well with the safety aspect, for instance, the certification, the verification. So that these are very important topics. So now I suggest we switch to the Slido question. And we will discover what the audience would like to ask for to the experts panel. So Philippe, if you could show the Slido questions. They're coming. I saw a move. It's okay, very good. So the most popular question is how to upskill non-technical experts in AI to embrace the AI revolution. So I think it goes to various type of application. Kai mentioned lifelong learning. Also, Margareta mentioned some of that. So maybe I will ask both Margareta and Kai to address this question. Margareta, do you want to start?
Yes, thank you so much. That's a very good question, and very happy to see it endorsed by the audience. So I think there are multiple steps. We live in a world where the education and the training systems have changed. So I would say self-led learning is important. So not depending necessarily on education systems outside your own self. So also being preoccupied about how to improve your skill set. Second, there are a lot of online training platforms. Other companies provided online learning platforms that can be accessed for free, just to take courses, such as the one in Finland that I mentioned, that are accessible, that are really, relevant in order to get that first impression of what AI is. And then, it has increased level of complexity if you want to also have a career in that, to upskill and find a career opportunity. So that will be also important. And just staying in that mindset that you want to adopt new level of skills is very important. And just looking out for training opportunities, discussing with your peers what they are doing, being in touch with what the companies are doing, because they also have most of them learning programs and internal discussions on that and be able to just opt for those courses.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So, providing platforms, providing tools, but also providing an intermediary to make people aware of what exists and accompanying them. And I guess something which was said this morning as well is keep the curiosity there in the mindset of people. That's very important. Thank you, Kai. In few words, what's your feedback on that? What should we do for that?
Yeah, I will make it very short. Very, very good question. So for me, this has two sides. On the one hand side, it's the acceptance by the people, yeah, which is pretty important. So, and then we need to be transparent for sure, which is very, very important, and not to hide anything, and not to use the human data or whatever in any way which we didn't announce before. Second is the use, how to use it. And for me, the easy to use is pretty important, and it should show the potential very from the beginning. Yeah. And one thing is, from my point, very important as well, that the human need to be always finally in control. Yeah. So it's AI shouldn't control our life. Yeah, we should control our life, but our life should be made easier by AI.
Great, thank you. And you said acceptance by the people, transparent to the people. I assume then in the design of new solution, then you should also involve them from the beginning.
Absolutely. So to guess about where our customers or where non-technical people feel comfortable in, we should not guess about it. We should involve them and ask
Great.
them. It's pretty easy.
Excellent, thank you. So let's go then to the next question. So how to handle accountability of algorithm agents in decision making? And for instance, so this is in assessment of CVs when you recruit people. Are companies using such agent liable? So who is liable basically? So maybe from a company perspective, I would ask maybe who would like to answer this question? Sorry,
Actually, Cecile, I think this is a question for you.
Yeah, this is also a question for us, but I think from your experience, where do you see from a company perspective, what is practically implementable as well? So we should understand how real life, the constraints, what can be done, and not to impose something which is unrealistic. So that's why I think it's also important to have your view. For instance, Guillaume, what's your view on that?
I mean, actually, that's a massive question. I mean, because that relates to a bad decision making. Okay, so the decision in buy, whose responsibility is that? I tend to think that the company using AI is the one responsible, regardless of who was the worker working there. But I think this is one of the key topics. I mean, and this is the reason why in some of the problems that we are facing, we are seeing so much difficulty. Changing mindset and having AI accepted, because even if it's not on CVs or on safety matter, but what about the decision of a new logistic plan, which could be coming from AI technology, right? If the plan is wrong and or not as efficient as I thought, who is responsible? Is that the company? Is that the software vendor? Is that the poor guy that is in between and trying to do his job? It's extremely complex and I do think this is an area in which a third-party organization, and I'm sorry to consider EU necessarily as a third-party organization, but with no economical interest in the way we operate, would certainly be very helpful in giving us advice and guidance, because I must say on a day-to-day basis, this is a topic we don't handle very well.
Right. I think it's still an open question, and probably we need as well more debate on that to see how to progress together, what the technology can offer, what are the limitations, understand the limitation, and then discuss with the industry what is acceptable for them, how far we can go, how far we should stop.
Yeah.
So
Just,
yeah.
I would like to add something, and that relates back to the safety problem. I mean,
Yes.
in particular, when you are in a very, I would say, exotic environment or not controlled environment, and say autonomous driving, you cannot account for every situation that the AI may see during the course of its usage. And therefore, again, and this is the way railway has treated the problem. The problem of safety is not treated by listing all the use case and asking companies to do everything they can, because statistically it's totally impossible. They do it by forcing ways of developing AIs, which are considered as being very robust way, right? And again, this relates to the norms that needs to be imposed, or the framework that needs to be given, again, by EU probably, so that we all actors in the AI world knows exactly how we can do things. And when you are compliant with the norms, then the notion of liability somehow begin to have an answer.
Great, thanks. That's very clear. So that gives indication, yeah, on also going to help developing standards, and there we should definitely also involve all the stakeholders to do that. I'd like to ask. Time is running very fast. But I see in red here a very important question. EU wants to distinguish European AI as trusted AI. How do you interpret this for industry application? So I'll stay with you, Guillaume, since you're still on the floor, but I'll ask the question and I'll ask each speaker to answer to it very briefly. Guillaume.
I think we are turning around always the same question, no? I must say, I think the vision is good. I think the deployment of AI, the democratization of AI, and the leveraging of those technology for helping the life of workers all across, and efficiency in our companies is critical. Again, acceptance is on the critical path of that. The notion of trusted AI would certainly help. And again, at my level, if I was to interpret that or to prioritize what trusted AI means, I probably would put safety probably at one of the top priority of that work.
Makes sense. Okay, thank you. Margareta, what is your interpretation of that? How would you interpret and do something about that?
Well, I think as companies, as citizens, as stakeholders in Europe, we should all be mindful about this conversation and start asking ourselves, like, what does trust actually mean for each of us? Because this is still an open question. And ethics at the same time is still the same important question. And then as the white paper says, increasing that level of trust will probably also increase the level of uptake of artificial intelligence. So there's a direct link between these two. So developers, deployers, citizens, organizations have to be in that constant conversation on identifying what they identify as trust, as an ethical approach, and what would be the course of actions and the practices, the accepted practices in this still very uncertain climate and uncertain realm that it's constantly evolving. Artificial intelligence is just at the beginning, so thinking about something that hasn't happened yet might be also problematic. So a gradual approach to this, I think, is critical.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Marco, what is your take on that?
Yes. So because this question was really dedicated on industrial applications, I just recall from my experience when we are talking about to companies about deploying AI solutions in their industrial applications, they often refer to trust as, for instance, transparency. So meaning whenever I deploy a AI system, let it be for quality control, where an AI is analyzing images taken for quality purposes, and then any decision made by an AI system should be understandable by the humans, because in many classical industrial applications you have some kind of rule-based or expert systems currently deployed, which are easily conceived by people. So, and if we now replace them with an AI system, they expect, of course, better performance, but still the same or a comparable level of transparency and understandability. So this is one aspect of trusted AI. Another one I see is that whenever an AI system is supporting or actually doing a decision, it should also indicate the level of certainty in this decision. So especially when let's say the data that is provided is not of high quality, and the AI system cannot provide a highly certain decision, it should give some kind of indication how well this decision is supported by the data. It could be some values of percentages, or it could be some traffic light, which is indicating the certainty behind a AI-driven decision. Just two aspects.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Kai.
Well, I'd like to add, in addition to Guillaume, Margareta, and Marco, that independency is very important. So, in many fold. And one is that I would like to extend that all server content should be mirrored in Europe to avoid, let's call it, non-European political interventions, so to make us independent from other political rumors as well. And this is very important to bring it forward, to gain trust and to keep it.
Okay, so to implement and deploy AI the way we want and not imposed by others, or using systems maybe we don't fully control, I guess.
Absolutely.
Good. So now we are almost already at the end of our session, and I will ask something both from the audience and from the panel. It's, what is your take-home message? And for the audience, what I'm going to ask them is, you go in the poll section, and in 2 words you say, what is your take-home message from these panels, from what you've heard from the experts? What are the key message you'd like to send, to share with the experts and with the other members of the AI Alliance? And while you're doing that, so please feeding your keywords as of now. So you go to the same Slido, but instead of going to question, you go to the poll. And while you're doing that, I'll go around the table and ask each panelist to give their take-home message in 1-2 sentences. So, Margareta?
Thank you, Cecile. I was just thinking about it because the conversation was very interesting and very complex. So I would say trust in both the uptake and also the development, and also adopting new skills. Trust and hope.
Hope, that's good. Very good. Thanks. Marco?
My 2 sentences is, first, do not hesitate to deploy AI solutions. Others will do for you if you are not doing it. So this is the first aspect. And the second one, and there I agree with Margareta, it's about trust. I think it's a good idea about to make it human-centered and think about trustworthy AI. This is a key differentiator to other regions in the world.
Excellent. Guillaume?
Please unmute.
Before, I think that the framework is absolutely necessary. So I think we should all work on defining the new framework to build the trust for that technology.
Excellent. And Kai?
Well, for me, in a general speaking, no company will solve the challenges of the future alone. And this is even more true for AI. So I would really like to see us working together and being good partners, sharing trust and excellence.
Trust and excellence. Excellent. Very good. So on this word, we conclude this panel right on time. And I again want to thank all the experts who join us and enlighten us on this topic. We could continue the conversation for hours, and we will continue through the AI Alliance and through other events, because we need to continue working with all stakeholders to make sure that the AI we're developing in Europe is for the good of people, is for the good of our companies as well, and for Europe as general. So thank you so much for the expert. Thanks for the audience. I see this is wonderful, your contribution to the poll. And I want also to thanks my colleague Jan and Philip on the background, who helped us you don't see them, but they are behind the scene to help us organizing this session and the technical support as well. Thank you so much. And I hope you can enjoy the afternoon as well. Don't miss the afternoon session. Have a great day. Thank you so much again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.